What if the greatest threat to democracy didn't come from the outside, but from within your own mind? Based on the novel of the same name, John Frankenheimer's The Manchurian Candidate is more than just a Cold War thriller. Released in 1962, it captured the deep paranoia of its time: fear of communism, fear of political corruption, and perhaps most unsettling, fear of losing control of one's own thoughts. The early 1960s were a time of escalating tension between the United States, the Soviet Union, and China. Just a decade earlier, Senator Joseph McCarthy had fueled the Red Scare, a wave of accusations and investigations claiming communists had infiltrated the US government.
Is responsible for protecting communist infiltration and protecting communists.
Though McCarthy's influence collapsed in 1954, the sense of suspicion and political division lingered. During the Korean War, stories emerged that American prisoners of war had been subjected to so-called brainwashing by their Chinese captors. The term was popularized in the press, and though exaggerated, it planted a terrifying idea that your mind itself could be turned into a weapon. The Manchurian Candidate took these fears and amplified them, transforming abstract anxieties into a concrete nightmare of political assassination, betrayal, and psychological manipulation. The story follows Raymond Shaw, a decorated Korean War hero played by Lawrence Harvey. But behind his impressive and well-liked public image lies a dark secret. Unbeknownst to him, Shaw has in fact been brainwashed by communists to act as an assassin. His fellow soldier, Major Bennett Marco, played by Frank Sinatra, begins to unravel the conspiracy when he's plagued by recurring nightmares of the brainwashing sessions. At the centre of it all is Shaw's mother, Eleanor Iselin, played by Angela Lansbury. She's manipulative, ambitious, and coldly calculating in her role to push her son into the role of political assassin in service of her husband's rise to power. One of the most chilling devices in the film is the way Raymond Shaw's brainwashing is triggered, this being through a deck of playing cards. The suggestion that he plays a game of solitaire triggers a trance-like state in which Shaw has no control over his body and mind. Whenever Shaw sees the Queen of Diamonds, he is then placed into an additional trance-like state in which if he is commanded to do anything, he will do so without hesitation. The choice of card is symbolic. The Queen connects directly to his domineering mother, Eleanor, while the image of diamonds, cold and lifeless, mirrors his own emotional emptiness. What makes this so disturbing is its simplicity. The Queen of Diamonds is ordinary, something anyone might stumble across. This transforms everyday life into a potential threat, paranoia distilled into a single playing card. For audiences, it suggested that brainwashing wasn't just about elaborate torture chambers, but about subtle, invisible cues that could lurk in plain sight. Finally, the card motif also plays into the film's gambling imagery. Politics is a high-stakes game, lives treated as chips to be moved by those in power. At its core, The Manchurian Candidate is about control, loss of free will. Raymond Shaw becomes the ultimate puppet, a war hero whose own mind has been stolen. His character embodies the fear that individuals can be stripped of agency and used as weapons against their own country. Political Paranoia. Eleanor Islin's ambitions mirror real-world anxieties about power-hungry politicians exploiting fear for personal gain. Her husband is a loudmouth senator who channels McCarthy's style, but it's Eleanor who wields the real power behind the scenes. Family betrayal. By making the manipulator Shaw's own mother, the film personalises the paranoia. It's not just foreign enemies we should fear, but those closest to us. Visually, Frankenheimer reinforces these themes with bold, stylistic choices. The brainwashing scenes blur reality and illusion, moving between polite garden parties and military interrogations in jarring, disorientating cuts. This editing style traps the audiences in the same uncertainty as the characters, unsure what is real and what is programmed fantasy. Upon release, The Manchurian Candidate stunned audiences. Its blend of political satire, psychological horror, and thriller elements felt daring and unsettling. But just a year later, President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas. Suddenly, a film about political assassination hit far too close to home. The movie was withdrawn from circulation for years, its reputation growing in whispers rather than box office numbers. When it resurfaced decades later, critics hailed it as one of the greatest American thrillers ever made. It has since been preserved by the Library of Congress as a culturally significant work. Still to this day, The Manchurian Candidate resonates with audiences because its themes aren't bound to the Cold War. Today, concerns about misinformation, psychological manipulation, and the influence of powerful elites echo the film's warnings. While the spectre of communism may have faded, the fear of losing autonomy, of being controlled by forces larger than ourselves, remains as pressing as ever. The Manchurian Candidate is more than a Cold War relic. It's a timeless exploration of paranoia, manipulation, and the fragility of democracy. Over 60 years later, it continues to ask us the same unsettling question: how much of our mind truly belongs to us?